Hey everybody, my name's Seth and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be covering Mars through the Signs, a series brought to you by Patreon patrons like Jade Anderson, who's allowing us to talk about Mars in Capricorn today. You guys are getting here on YouTube is a abridged version of this series. If you want to see the full series from Aries up to Capricorn, you can hop on over to patreon.com/CancerVirgo Astrology. And there you can become someone who's helping support this series while also gaining access to series to come. So enjoy. Today we're going to be covering Mars in Capricorn. But first things first, we're going to have to cover Mars. What is Mars? Mars is a planet of projection, first and foremost. Mars is focused on projecting its needs outward, going out into the world and affecting what goes on outside of itself. Now, this projection is for better or for worse. It's the consequences of that projection. That projection can come in the form of things like passion, sex or even violence. You could see that projection in a sense like a power, like in war or aggressive peacekeeping treaties. Just the main idea is that Mars is about projecting itself out into the world and affecting what goes on around it. And what this means, this idea of projection means that Mars is a prime example of archetypal masculinity. Not so much being a man or a woman, but really the idea of just projecting, to be able to project outward and affect what goes on around you, and eventually what goes on internally will be changed based on this. Now, when we're looking at feminine energy, you're looking at the idea of taking in what's going on around you, having that change what's going on internally, and eventually the outside will change. So there's the flip between them. It has nothing to do with guys and girls. With this, we see Mars's purpose, and Mars' purpose comes in many forms of word association, like projection and propagation and winning and advancement. It's the idea of trying to accomplish these things no matter the circumstances. Now, what we do as human beings is that we add a context to this purpose. We answer the question of propagating what, advancing in what, winning at what. It's us who give Mars a true purpose. Now, Mars has a thing that it likes to do. Mars likes to project and advance, but that's just a thing. Until you put Mars in a chart and you start to answer the question of how and why and what Mars wants to change and advance and win at. So the tarot card that represents Mars is this card right here, and it is called the Tower. Now, this card is about destruction, and that's certainly clear. It's a destruction card, but that does not mean that it is inherently a negative card, because destruction can be for good, destruction can be for bad. The idea of this type of destruction is that it's just inconvenient. It comes at the worst times, or it comes when you don't feel like it. It's being thrusted from a tower when you thought you were comfortable. So it's like literally Rapunzel. She thought she knew what she wanted, and she thought she knew what the outside world was going to be in her dreams, until she was just inconveniently thrusted out there and had to figure it out. It was inconvenient. She initially was not that excited, and that's kind of the same energy you get with the Tower. Now, it's almost like finding yourself at the starting line of a race you did not sign up for. Suddenly, you have the chance to take up opportunity and get what you want out of life, but it came at such a breakneck speed that it's time for you to hit the finish line or lose. It's time for you to win or die. Like, this is Mars we're still talking about. There's a reason why you were thrusted out of that tower, and it's to get shit done and survive. And not even just survive, you need to thrive, and you need to accomplish, and you need to move forward, you need to advance, and you need to propagate. Like, these things start to come in. It's time for you to project. You're no longer separate from this world. It's time for you to start engaging and changing what's going on around you. So now we're going to talk about Capricorn, and the tarot card that represents Capricorn is this card right here, and it is called the Devil. this card has a pretty harsh reputation. So this card is about the idea of weakness, and it's the weakness of settling, just kind of settling for what you got, to kind of kick your feet up and crack open a beer, have a cigarette, maybe have some harder liquor, maybe even have some harder drugs, and just kind of enjoy yourself, enjoy being in chains, enjoy slowly dying, and just wallow in that. Just die off. It's when we ended with Sagittarius, it certainly sounds like that would be what you do. Now that you've reached this end result and everyone is surpassing you, just kick your feet up. You're old now, just die. Have your drugs, have your beers, have your whatever, and just fucking leave it. Whatever, it's done. I've done what I've needed to do. No one really cares. It doesn't really fucking matter. Fuck it. It's over. And that's the weakness of this, because people develop that mentality at any age. People develop that mentality at any point in their life. And that is why it's called the devil card, because you are in his grasp. When you develop that fuck it mentality and just kick back and enjoy slowly dying, you are enveloping the energy of this card. Now, what Sagittarius truly taught Capricorn was that longevity is able to be accomplished, but it not on passion. This may be reminiscent, but somewhat very different from the idea of Capricorn that we read in books, or that is colloquially known. This is because we're looking at Capricorn without the idea of aspects and planets and houses and all these other factors that help us understand what Capricorn is capable of, but does not help us understand what Capricorn is on its own. And the only thing you have to relate to Capricorn is the signs that came before it and the signs that will come after. And to be able to do that, we're going to have to move into the decans. And that we shall. But firstly, we're going to have to talk about what happens when the Tower meets the Devil. What happens when Mars enters Capricorn? And we can now look at Capricorn's energy from a different perspective. Because when we look at it colloquially, and we're looking at the influence of planets and houses and aspects telling us what Capricorn is capable of, now that we understand that that's one thing and what we're going to be doing is another, we can look at Capricorn energy with Mars there from the inside looking out. Because when you want to know what Capricorn is capable of, you put Mars here, and you, from your perspective, look at Capricorn through Mars. Look at Mars first, then you look at Capricorn, and then you have your interpretation. But now we're going to look at Capricorn first, then look at how Mars is changed, and apply it to what we can see, what we can understand about Capricorn itself. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, I'm committing to this strange analogy, and I feel like I'm getting worse at it every time. So when the Tower meets the Devil. So when this happens, we find that Mars truly empowers all of those visions that Capricorn has for the future, all of those goals that Capricorn feels the need to accomplish. Mars comes in and just empowers that, makes it even a harsher drive, more of a thing that they just need to get fucking done. And where that comes from is the idea that the finish line and the race itself that you're finding yourself on becomes a responsibility to Capricorn. There becomes a sense of, now that we're all on the track of red, now that I understand that we're on red and yellow's over there and blue's over there and black is over there and white is over there, there's all these different colors here, but I'm on red, me and the people standing next to me, we're on red. It creates the mentality that these are no longer your competitors. Whereas we're all running towards the finish line, but we're all on track red. You are not my competitor. You are my coworker. You are my teammate. You are my employee. We're becoming a band of sorts. It is us versus them. It's red versus yellow versus blue versus black versus white. So it becomes much more of a team sport. It becomes much more of a larger scale effort. It's not the idea of who's going to get to the finish line first anymore on our track. It's the idea that everyone here is moving in one direction. We're all going to reach that finish line, and we're all going to do it before them. So the first decan of every sign is 0 to 9 degrees. 0 to 9 degrees of Capricorn is the first decan of Capricorn. The second decan of any sign is 10 to 19 degrees. That is going to be the second decan of Capricorn that we're going to be discussing. The third decan of any sign is 20 to 29 degrees. And we're going to be looking at the 20 to 29 degrees of Capricorn in the third decan of Capricorn. So that's how you get an understanding, zoom in, a little nuance in the storyline of any sign. And we're going to be doing that to get inner-depth look at Capricorn. I'm starting to lose my words. But yes, that's what we're going to be doing. Those are the decans. Here we go. We're going to start with the first decan of Capricorn, which is represented by this card. Oh. There we go. And this card is called Change, I think. Yes. And it is the Two of Discs. This first decan of Capricorn is about the idea of taking control of that line, that race that you're on. When you understand that you're on red and there's yellow over there and blue over there and all the other colors and black and white too, let's not forget them. They exist and they're important. Binaries are boundaries and they are important. But when you realize that and you accept that passion is not enough, that you're going to need more than passion, you're going to need effort, and you're going to need task orientation, and you're going to need. This is what this card is about: understanding and dealing with the ability to gain what you need to access longevity, to understand this is the opposite of Cancer, and there's no more apparent opposite than Capricorn in Cancer, because these competitors, you already understand that they're actually a form of your family. Cancer taught you that. Your competitors are really just people that help drive you and they help you understand what to do, and you need to respect them and accept them. But when you're driving forward as in Capricorn and you're on this race and you understand the differences, you understand the nuance, you understand the big picture, you're going to need to get to know these people. You're going to need to understand their weaknesses and their strengths and what drives them and what motivates them and what are the rules. How do you keep everyone together so not everyone is running in different directions? Because again, your competitor is yellow, your competitor is blue, your competitor is black and white. You are red. Everyone needs to be unified, which means you need to get everyone on the same page and establish the skills necessary to do so. And that's where you can find your natural talents. That's where you can find your natural drive. This is where you can find your new passion in life. And passion is not enough to get to that finish line because your passion is not everyone else's passion. Now for the second decan of Capricorn, we have this card right here, and it is called Works. This card in this context is really about understanding the opportunity that has now been made because of the first decan. The first decan gave you the opportunity to access people's drives, people's motivations, people's passions, and get them all on the same track. You have the opportunity to do so. And now with this second decan, you can access that opportunity. You can utilize that opportunity and start understanding what are people's weaknesses and what are their strengths and how to get them on the right path to utilize their strengths. Now that you have a bigger picture of what you all need to get done, what direction you're all moving in, start delegating. Start understanding the priorities that come of being a team leader and understanding how to access other people's priorities, because you are the person that is really good at connecting with people. You're really good at getting people motivated about things. You, the person with Mars in Capricorn. But also you're talking to the person who's going to become your booker. They're the person that can find people and book them and get venues and make connections between people. Those are their skills. Those are their talents. Their weaknesses might be staying in one room and working on something and picking out the finances, finding numbers that don't add up. You have someone else for that. Make sure that they understand that. Make sure that you empower their strengths, empower their talents, empower their passion, and make them the best booker they can be. Because it is your job to delegate everyone else's priorities, everyone else's opportunities, everyone else's strengths. And your ability to do so came from Cancer. Because you need to respect them and understand them as people that do help you. And now with this bigger scale perspective, you can utilize that understanding to empower them and get to know them and utilize their strengths as only you can, because you have a better perspective of them based on the context of the goal that you want to achieve. One big thing that comes with this responsibility of being able to pull people and put them in the right places and delegate the right responsibilities is your understanding of the rules of engagement, understanding what... So the last decan of Capricorn, the third decan of Capricorn, is represented by this card, and this card is called Power. Theme for this card is again longevity, but it's longevity from a different perspective. It's the ability to encapsulate momentum, to be able to constantly grow, constantly scale, constantly expand. Even when you're gone, your team needs to be able to keep moving. The race never really ends. It's the idea that you reach the top, you're the CEO, you're the king, you're at the helm of this big train that's moving. And when you are gone, that train needs to keep moving. You already learned that you're not the most important player. It's not about you. You learned that with Sagittarius, by the last decan of Sagittarius. It's not about you anymore. Your passion is not what keeps this thing moving. It's more than you. So you need to be able to make sure that what you've accomplished reflects that core belief. It needs to be able to move on its own. It needs to be able to have its own longevity outside of you. That's how you know you were successful. How can you capture and manufacture eminence? How can you develop power that retains itself? There are even power that eminently manufactures more power. It's like energy that kind of snowballs constantly. How can you manufacture that? The way to answer that is aching rigidity, control, and in a superior... Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed. This series is really fun. It's starting to come to a close, and I want to let you guys know that there has been a decision on the next series. The next planet for the Through the Sign series has been decided. I'm not announcing it yet, but thanks to Patreon patrons like Jade Anderson, we're going to be able to have a new series to come. I'll be letting you guys know soon what the new series will be, so make sure to stay tuned on my Twitter, on my Instagram, on the Facebook page, and yeah, just look forward to that. And also, there is a summer sale going on if you guys didn't know. So select pre-recorded readings are going to be 40% off. We're introducing tarot readings, thanks to me getting well acquainted to the tarot throughout this series, that are going to be $15. So they're going to be super cheap, hopefully giving you guys something to look forward to this summer. And yeah, just a lot going on. I'm excited to be able to say that. So if you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned because you never know when I'll be talking about you next.